Jasmine stood still in the middle of her engagement dinner. People were laughing, music was playing softly, and waiters moved around with glasses of wine. But everything felt distant, like a dream she couldn't wake up from. Her hand, with the shiny new engagement ring, felt heavy. Then she saw him. Marcus. She hadn't seen his face in over 10 years. But there he was, leaning against the wall near the bar, holding a glass of champagne like he belonged there. He looked older, sharper, but the smirk on his face hadn't changed. That same smirk from high school. That same smirk from the night he told her, "You'll never find real love, Jasmine. You're too much. No one's ever going to want you." She thought she had buried those words a long time ago. Her fiancé, Daniel, stood beside her, still smiling as people congratulated. But when he noticed her frozen face, he leaned in. "Are you okay?" Jasmine didn't answer. Marcus raised his glass toward her, like he was toasting her success. "Looks like someone finally said yes," he said loudly enough for her to hear. "Let's hope he knows what he's doing." A few people laughed awkwardly. Daniel looked confused. Jasmine's chest tightened. She felt the eyes on her, the judgment, the shame creeping in like it used to. She looked away from Marcus, blinked hard, and forced a smile. "I'm fine," she said to Daniel. But inside she wasn't. Not at all. Why was Marcus here? How did he even know about the engagement dinner? Who invited him? Memories rushed back like a flood, of childhood summers, of secrets shared, of their falling out. He had been her best friend. And then he became her first betrayal. Now he was back, smiling like nothing ever happened, acting like he had every right to be there, like he hadn't ruined her confidence, like he hadn't called her unlovable. The sound of a spoon tapping a glass pulled her back. Someone was giving a toast. People were cheering. Daniel squeezed her hand, but Jasmine couldn't breathe. She couldn't smile. She stared at Marcus, her past standing in the middle of her future. And deep down, she knew this was not going to be the simple, happy ending she had hoped for. Jasmine grew up in Atlanta, in a small, quiet neighborhood where everyone knew each other. Her parents were strict, religious, and always focused on how things looked to the outside world. Her father was a well-known pastor in the community, and her mother was a nurse who worked long hours, but still made sure dinner was on the table every night. Jasmine had 3 older brothers who protected her, but didn't really understand her. She was the only daughter, the loud one, the emotional one, the one who asked too many questions and laughed too loudly in church. Her parents loved her, but they didn't always know what to do with her. Whenever she cried, her father told her to pray. Whenever she got angry, her mother told her to be quiet. She learned early that being herself made people uncomfortable. Marcus lived next door. His home was the opposite of hers. His dad drank too much and yelled a lot. His mom left when he was young. Jasmine would sometimes hear shouting through the walls at night. Marcus didn't talk much, but he always showed up. When Jasmine wanted to climb trees or ride bikes for hours, Marcus was there. He was quiet, steady, and safe, or so she thought. They became best friends. They knew each other's secrets. He would come over when things got bad at his house, and Jasmine's mom would let him sleep on the couch. Her father didn't like it, but he didn't stop it either. They were just kids, trying to find comfort where they could. In middle school, people started teasing them, saying they would end up together. Jasmine didn't mind the idea. She liked Marcus. She trusted him. But by the time they were 16, everything changed. There was a party. Too much alcohol. Too many people. Jasmine remembered feeling nervous. She had dressed up more than usual. She wanted to impress Marcus. But that night, in front of a group of kids, Marcus made a joke that cut deep. "Jasmine?" "Nah," he said when someone asked if they were dating. "No guy wants a girl like her. She's too dramatic. She's just too much." Everyone laughed. Jasmine pretended it didn't hurt. She smiled, even joked back. But inside, something broke. She went home and cried all night. She stopped talking to Marcus after that. A few weeks later, he moved away to live with an uncle in another state. They never spoke again. Jasmine didn't date much after that. Her confidence was gone. She focused on school, got into a good college in New York, and tried to build a life where no one knew her past. She became an interior designer, started working with high-end clients, and slowly began finding her voice again. But love still scared her. It wasn't until she met Daniel that things started to change. Daniel was everything Marcus wasn't. Calm, kind, steady. He listened to her. He encouraged her. He didn't try to fix her. He just stood beside her. He was a lawyer, smart and hardworking, but not arrogant. He loved that Jasmine was passionate. He never told her she was too much. After 2 years of dating, he proposed on a rooftop under string lights and soft music. Jasmine cried when she said yes. Not just because she was happy, but because she was surprised someone could love her that deeply. She thought her life was finally coming together. But then Marcus appeared at their engagement dinner. Now, everything felt shaky again. Old wounds were opening. Jasmine didn't know how he found her, why he was back, or what he wanted. All she knew was that the life she had carefully built was suddenly starting to crack. Daniel noticed something was wrong. He asked gently if she wanted to talk. Jasmine didn't know what to say. How could she explain that the boy who first made her feel unworthy was now back, watching her, like he still had some kind of power over her? Her parents didn't seem surprised to see Marcus. In fact, her father had smiled when he walked in. That made Jasmine feel even more confused. Was she the only one who remembered what he did? Was she the only one still hurt? Everything she worked for, her business, her healing, her relationship with Daniel, was at risk. And she didn't know if she had the strength to go through it all again. But one thing was clear. This wasn't just about Marcus. The morning after the engagement dinner, Jasmine couldn't sleep. She sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the ring on her finger. Everything felt heavy, her heart, her thoughts, her silence. Daniel came out of the shower, towel around his waist. "You've been quiet since last night," he said, watching her carefully. "Was it that guy? The one at the dinner?" Jasmine nodded slowly. "His name's Marcus. We were friends when we were kids. And then something happened. He hurt me." Daniel sat beside her, concern in his eyes. "Do you want to talk about it?" "I don't even know where to start," she whispered. Later that afternoon, Jasmine went to visit her mother. She needed answers, needed to know why Marcus was even there. Her mom was in the kitchen, peeling yams for dinner. "Why was he at my engagement party?" Jasmine asked, skipping any small talk. Her mother didn't look up. "He's back in town. He came by the house a few weeks ago, said he wanted to apologize. Your father felt it was the right thing to let him come." Jasmine stared in disbelief. "You invited him into our lives without even telling me?" "He's changed, Jasmine," her mother said. "He went through a lot. He's trying to make peace." Jasmine shook her head. "He destroyed me. You know what he said to me back then? He made me feel like I was unlovable." Her mother sighed, as if she had heard this story one too many times. "That was a long time ago. People grow up. But I'm the one who had to grow from it. Alone." Jasmine left the house, feeling like the ground under her was shaking. Nothing felt safe. Her family had opened the door to the one person she had tried to shut out forever. That evening, she met Daniel at his office downtown. He had sent her a text earlier, saying they needed to talk. He looked serious as she walked in. "There's something you should know," he said, closing the door behind her. Jasmine sat down slowly. "What is it?" "Marcus came to see me," Daniel said. "At work." Her chest tightened. "What?" "He gave me some files. He said I represented someone who lied about him in court. Someone who helped send him to prison." Jasmine blinked. "You were his lawyer's lawyer?" "Not directly. I was working under someone else then. It was one of my first big cases. I didn't even know his name until yesterday." Jasmine stood up. "So it's true. I didn't know who he was to you." "I swear," Daniel said quickly. "If I had known, I would have walked away from that case. But I didn't. And he took the fall." Jasmine's mind spun. She felt like she was being pulled underwater. The man she loved had helped destroy Marcus's life. And now Marcus was here, not just for apologies, but for revenge? "You should have told me the moment you found out," Jasmine said, her voice shaking. "I wanted to," Daniel said. "But I didn't want to ruin what we had. I didn't want you to look at me differently. But now I do," she whispered. Daniel reached for her hand, but she stepped back. Everything felt like a lie. The man who promised her love had kept a secret that could tear everything apart. And Marcus, the boy who once crushed her spirit, was now holding pieces of the truth she didn't know existed. Jasmine didn't know who to believe. All she knew was this. Her past and her present had just crashed into each other, and nothing would ever be the same. Jasmine didn't go home that night. She turned off her phone and drove around the city until the streets were nearly empty. She couldn't stop thinking about what Daniel had said. The files, the case, Marcus. Everything was spinning. When she finally got back to her apartment, it was nearly 2 a.m. The lights were off, but she knew Daniel was inside. She didn't go in. She couldn't. Instead, she sat in her car and cried, head on the steering wheel, trying to understand how her life had turned so quickly. The next morning, she stayed in bed. No work, no calls, no messages, just silence, until a knock came at the door. She thought about ignoring it, but the knocking continued. When she finally opened it, she found Marcus standing there. "I didn't mean for it to happen like this," he said. Jasmine didn't move. "You have no right to be here. I just want 5 minutes." She crossed her arms but didn't shut the door. Marcus stepped inside slowly, looking around like the apartment held memories he didn't have. "I didn't know Daniel was your fiancé," he said, voice low. "I didn't come to ruin your life. I came to clear my name. You think showing up at my engagement party and handing over secret files is how you do that? I spent 5 years in prison, Jasmine. 5 years for something I didn't do. I lost everything." She shook her head. "And you think I had it easy? After you humiliated me in front of everyone? You made me feel like trash. I carried your words with me for years." Marcus looked down. I was a coward. I said what I said because I was scared. Scared of what I felt for you. She froze. I liked you, he said quietly. I liked you more than I understood at that age. And I hated how much power you had over me. So I said something awful. And I've regretted it ever since. Jasmine's voice cracked. That night changed everything for me. I know, he said. And I can't fix the past. But I needed you to know the truth. Daniel helped cover up evidence in my case. Maybe he didn't know me back then, but he knows now. And he didn't tell you. Jasmine sat down on the couch, feeling like her chest was splitting open. Why now? She asked. Why come back now? Because I finally got the full story, he said. And because when I saw your name in a social media post about Daniel's engagement, I saw the ring and recognized your face. And I couldn't ignore it. She didn't know what to say. She was angry, hurt, but part of her believed him. After Marcus left, Jasmine called her father. She needed to hear something honest. Did you know, she asked, about Daniel and the case? Her father paused. I knew there was history. I didn't know the details until recently. Why didn't anyone tell me? Because we didn't want to see you lose what you had. You were finally happy. That's not happiness. That's control. Her father didn't respond, and that silence told her everything. Over the next few days, Daniel tried calling. He texted. He even sent flowers. But Jasmine didn't answer. Finally, he showed up at her work. She met him outside the building, arms crossed. Please, he said. Don't shut me out like this. Let me explain everything. You lied by not telling me, she said. You let me walk into a marriage without knowing the truth. I didn't lie, Daniel said. I didn't know Marcus was someone from your past. I handled that case years ago, before I even met you. But I should have told you once I found out who he was. Jasmine looked at him, searching for something in his eyes. Do you even feel sorry? She asked. I feel sick, Daniel said. I didn't realize how much pain he went through. And I didn't realize how close this would hit home for you. She nodded slowly. I need space. Daniel swallowed hard. Are you saying we're over? I'm saying I don't know what's real anymore, she said. And I can't marry someone who keeps things from me. That night, Jasmine sat in her apartment and pulled out an old journal. She hadn't written in it for years, but she needed to let everything out. She wrote about Marcus, about Daniel, about feeling like everyone she trusted had used her silence for their comfort. Then her phone buzzed. A message from Marcus. I'm not trying to win you. I just want you to know I've never stopped caring. Even if it's too late for us, I hope it's not too late for you to be free. That message didn't bring clarity, but it brought something else. A sense of control. She had a week later, Jasmine agreed to meet Daniel one last time. They sat across from each other in the quiet corner of a small cafe. Her fingers were wrapped tightly around her cup, but she hadn't taken a sip. I've been thinking about us, Daniel said gently, and about everything that's happened. She nodded. Me too. I didn't come here to beg, he continued. I came to be honest. All the way this time. Jasmine raised her eyebrows, waiting. There's something else you should know, he said, his voice lower now. I didn't just handle the Marcus case years ago. My boss, he pressured me to help bury evidence that could have cleared him. I knew. I didn't fight it. I was new, I was scared, and I wanted to prove myself. So I did it. Jasmine froze. I thought if I told you, I'd lose you, Daniel whispered. And the truth is, I probably deserve to. She stared at him, feeling her stomach twist. So you knowingly helped send an innocent man to prison? He nodded once, slowly. Yes. She stood up, anger rising in her chest. You let me fall in love with you. You let me say yes to you, wear your ring, build a future, knowing you destroyed someone I once cared about. I didn't think I'd ever see him again. I didn't know he mattered to you, Daniel said quickly. But when I found out, I should have told you. I was selfish. Jasmine didn't know what hurt more, the betrayal or the silence that followed it. You lied, she said, her voice breaking. And you let my past crash into me like it was nothing. He reached for her hand, but she pulled away. I loved you, Daniel, but you don't get to rewrite history and ask me to pretend it never happened. Daniel's face fell. So what happens now? You ask me that like I owe you something, she said quietly. But I don't. You made a choice, and now I'm making mine. She walked out of the cafe, heart pounding in her chest. But the day wasn't done yet. When she got home, there was a package at her door. No name, no return address. Just a plain brown envelope. She opened it carefully and pulled out a stack of papers. Inside was a handwritten note. I never wanted revenge. I just wanted you to know the truth. I'm sorry I hurt you when we were young. These are the full documents from my case. They show who signed what. Daniel's signature is on the evidence suppression order. He had power, even back then. He chose silence. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I wanted you to have this. Marcus. Jasmine sat on the floor, shaking. It was all true. Daniel wasn't just part of the case. He was one of the reasons Marcus lost 5 years of his life. All the pain Marcus carried, all the darkness. Some of it started with the man she thought she was going to marry. Later that evening, Jasmine made one more decision. She called Marcus. "I got your package," she said, voice calm but firm. "I wasn't sure if you'd call. Why did you wait until now to send it?" "I didn't want to ruin you," he said. "I saw how happy you looked with him, but I also saw how much you were trying to forget what happened between us, and I didn't want you to keep living like that." There was a long silence. "I'm not asking you for anything," Marcus continued. "I just wanted to do what was right." Jasmine closed her eyes. "Thank you for giving me the truth. No one else did." After they hung up, she sat alone in her living room, holding the papers in her hand. She looked around her apartment, her safe space, her little corner of peace, and knew she couldn't stay quiet anymore. The next morning, she went to the law firm where Daniel worked. She walked in with confidence, head high, and asked to speak with his senior partner. When she was brought into his office, she placed the files on the desk. "I think you should see these," she said. The man flipped through them slowly. His eyes narrowed. "If what this shows is true, your fiancé." "Ex-fiancé," Jasmine corrected. He looked up. He could lose his license. Jasmine nodded. He should. As she walked out of the office, she didn't feel bitter. She didn't feel broken. She felt free. Because for the first time in years, Jasmine wasn't the girl who got humiliated. She wasn't the woman holding her pain in silence. She was someone who faced the truth and used it to stand tall. And no one could take that from her again. Weeks passed. The days felt lighter now. Jasmine had moved out of her old apartment, the one filled with memories of Daniel, of stress, of pretending to be happy. She found a small but cozy place near the water. It wasn't fancy, but it felt fresh. It felt hers. Daniel tried to reach out a few more times, but she didn't answer. He left long voice notes, messages full of regret and apology. But she had heard enough. The truth had been revealed, and no words could change what he had done. Silence was her answer now. One afternoon, she got a call from the legal board. They informed her that Daniel had been suspended while they investigated his role in Marcus's case. There would be a hearing. More people had come forward after she submitted the documents. It wasn't just Marcus. Others had suffered, too. She hung up the phone feeling both sad and relieved. She didn't want revenge, but she wanted justice. And now it was beginning. Her relationship with her father also started to shift. He came by one weekend with a bag of groceries and a nervous smile. "I wanted to check in," he said, "and maybe cook dinner like old times." Jasmine hesitated, then let him in. While he chopped onions and she washed rice, they spoke, not just about the weather or her job, but real things. "I knew Daniel wasn't perfect," her father admitted, "but I thought he was safe, and I thought you were finally letting go of the past." "I wasn't," Jasmine said softly. "I just got good at hiding it." He nodded. "I should have asked more questions. I should have listened better." "You're here now," she said, and for the first time in a long time, she meant it. Later that week, she met Marcus at a park bench by the lake. It was quiet, the sun hanging low in the sky. "You look better," Marcus said. "Stronger." "I feel better," she replied. They sat quietly for a moment, watching ducks move across the water. "I never wanted to become part of your story again," he said. "Not after how I treated you back then." "You didn't come back to hurt me," she said. "You came back to tell the truth." He nodded slowly. "I'm starting my own nonprofit now, for people who were wrongfully convicted. I used your courage as a reminder. It's not too late to change the story." Jasmine smiled. "That's good. You deserve a second chance." "You both do." He looked at her. "And what about you? What's next?" She breathed deeply. "I'm not rushing into anything. I've spent too much of my life trying to be what others want. Right now, I just want to be myself." They walked side by side for a while, not needing to say more. Later, Jasmine sat at her desk, writing again in her journal. Her words flowed easier now. She wrote about betrayal, about healing, about standing up not just for others, but for herself. She didn't know exactly what the future held, but she knew this. She was no longer a victim. She was no longer silent. She was a woman who chose herself. It was a Sunday morning. Soft sunlight filled the new apartment, and the smell of coffee floated in the air. Jasmine stood barefoot on the balcony, a warm mug in her hands, watching the city wake up. There was no chaos, no pain hanging in her chest, just peace. Her phone buzzed on the table behind her. A message from an unknown number lit up the screen. "You're stronger than you think. I hope the world sees it now. M." She smiled gently. She didn't reply, but she didn't delete it either. Some things didn't need answers. Some moments just needed to be felt. She sat down, opened her journal, and started a new page. Not about heartbreak, not about betrayal, but about beginnings. She wrote, "I thought love meant holding on even when it hurt. But real love starts with choosing yourself. I lost people. I lost trust. But I found something more important. I found me." A soft knock came at the door. Her father stood there with breakfast in a brown paper bag. "I brought pancakes," he said, smiling. She stepped aside and let him in. This time, the silence between them was comfortable, not heavy. They sat together, ate, laughed, and talked like they hadn't in years. Later, she walked him to the door, gave him a hug, and watched him leave. Alone again, she looked at her reflection in the hallway mirror. For the first time, she saw a woman she was proud of. Not perfect, not untouched by pain, but real, alive, and finally free. She whispered to herself, "This is my story now." And then, with a quiet smile, she closed the door. Hey besties, thanks so much for watching till the end. If you enjoyed Jasmine's powerful story of betrayal, truth, and healing, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe for more emotional drama. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Her friends invited everyone except her to their girls' trip, so she booked one seat beside. Stay tuned for that one. See you in the next story. Bye.